For the Martha, we are focused on right now finishing the hull, getting it painted and protected and back in the water before it's rigged. We want to do that. She's been out of the water for over 2 years now, and just want to stabilize the wood and check anything with it. The rigging can come after, when more funds become available, when we get more wood. The hull is difficult because they sell lumber today in what they call nominal dimensions. A 2-inch piece of wood is really only 1.5 inches, maybe a little bit heavier than that. The planking on Martha and most boats of that era were done in full dimension lumber. That's almost impossible to get if you want it planed and dressed. You start with a 2-inch piece of wood, but by the time you plane it, it's down to the nominal dimension again. So it's undersized. So what we have to do is buy either oversized lumber, dress it down or resaw it, and if it's available, so we're losing a lot of material, and it's very expensive that way, because you're throwing so much away. The mast, we've looked at, the traditional mast was taken right from the woods and cut and then shaped to the mast, cut down. But it takes a pretty good sized pine tree, loblolly pine tree, probably 36 inches in diameter. So it takes a good sized tree. The bad part about it is if you go through all that work of harvesting and shaping and so on, when you get down to where you're whittling it to the right size, it's a surprise whether the wood has got any internal parasites in it, or if it's got any rot that is in it already. You can't see that. What we plan to do with the mast is to make a mast that's fabricated and put together with epoxy, and we will make an 8-sided mast, tapered, and then we'll make it 16-sided after it's glued up, and then you're almost at a round. The advantage of that is we can use Douglas fir, which is very stable. Also, when we buy it, we'll buy it basically 2 inches thick and dress it to what we want, but we can see there's not going to be anything hidden. Another advantage of it is it's lighter because it's hollow. So when you get that much weight standing vertically, it makes the boat more stable. Also gives you a raceway for any electrical wires or cabling or whatever to go internal into the mast. Most of the people that stop by are interested in history. That's why they stop by. They see they're on the water, they're interested in old boats. Whether they own one or not is another issue. But they do like the historical element of it. In Cambridge, we're in an area that is steeped in history relative to boat builders, shipbuilders for hundreds of years. One family has been here since the 1790s, I believe. building boats. So it's there's a lot of tradition around here with it. Most of the skipjacks built in the Chesapeake Bay were built in Cambridge. They like that. They like working with their hands. A lot of them like the contribution to something like the Martha or other historic vessels that represent the heritage. It's where we've been. Some of the benefits are, first of all, the visibility of what's going on. It brings people in that are curious, and we spend time with them, and we'll tell them the story and tell them the history of the boat. So it gives a lot of people something to do. The people that are really interested, that want to come back to the Richardson, what's our long-term plan is an educational one, not just an exhibit in a museum, but people that can come in and learn how to make things, how to be creative. Richardson is primarily interested in starting a school here on this property. And we start that with historical vessels and so on, and then we'll grow right through that to state-of-the-art vessels of today. We want to get train people in marine electronics, marine systems, engines, propulsion, finishes, composite construction, things that are being done today. The industry is having a difficult time finding qualified people to do that. So it's that are trained already. If there were more people trained, there'd be a lot more boats being built and people working on them locally. But it's just basically it's hard to find people with those skills. We want to teach them that, not just wooden boats, but that's part of it. That's where you would start. I've been in this boat business, I guess, since I was 16 years old or so. Had an old wooden boat. My grandfather made these wonderful models. I always really loved them. And I couldn't afford a new boat. Most boats, when I started, were all wood anyway. But later, as the fiberglass ones came along, I couldn't really afford one. So I've worked probably for the past 45 to 50 years on making things, not just boats, but buildings and automobiles and things like that. But I really think that what hooked me into this was meeting Mr. Jim Richardson from the Richardson Maritime, which it's named after him. He was just a terrific person, spent all kinds of time with me. 45 years ago when I stopped down here to meet him. And he welcomed anybody that came in that was interested. So I remember that, and again, that's how I got interested in it. And I think the youth today, everyone can't be a computer programmer or a lawyer or a dentist or a banker. You know, some people have to learn how to do other things. If they're messing around with their hands all the time on an iPhone or a computer, it's a whole different skill that they may or may not be able to work with. So we've had some programs here where we've taught children how to make simple things, and they absolutely come alive when they're doing that. When they make a little wooden mallet, or we have them make like a little square that they can, and see how things go together. Little model boats we've made with them, and they love it. And it's great to see that, and you have to give back. Well, I went to school, a couple different schools that I guess maybe I didn't want to go to work right away, but I like learning new things. And the first school I went to was Eastman School of Music, and I play classical guitar. It's an instrument that I have had a lot of passion with. And did that, and finally I wasn't a good enough player. I was all right, I guess, and it was enjoyable, but I really didn't have enough, when I look at it, thinking how was I going to support myself playing classical guitar. Not exactly a biggie. Rock and roll might have been a lot different, but I like classical music better. So the second school I went to was Rochester Institute of Technology in the School of Art and Design in woodwork, as a woodworker, and did that also. So and studied with some great people there that really show you a different way of seeing things and making things. I like to make things.